Before we start off, I'm a bit curious. You are a partner in technology for a lot of companies, but how does such a partnership work out?
As Luijten just stated, we're not alone, right? We're just part of this ecosystem. So as you mentioned, what we're trying to do is leverage the competences of partners in our value chain so the whole value chain grows. Just to give you an example, in the Amsterdam Arena, we work together with them and they provide the playing ground with all the audience and all the technical infrastructure, and we provide the services upon that infrastructure so that we can easily assess and see how the customer responds if we bring new services and new experience to the public. Now, where is it going? Can I start?
Sure.
Cool. So trust no one. We just heard that we don't even understand the way our brains work, so ethics is quite complicated, so I thought it might be a nice sheet to start with. Do you all remember Scully and Mulder? They endeavored to open up the X-Files, and they persevered in finding out the truth about alien life forms under the highest pressure, against all odds, and with the highest secrecy. And why did they persevere? Because they believed. They truly believed the truth was out there. Now today with you guys, I would like to open the equally challenging sex files. Now, customer experience seems to be right up there next to big data, smart cities, business intelligence. And I think equally so. Because in the end, people first, we just heard. So it's all about making the right engagement with your customer, ensuring that he has a nice time when interacting with you, and therefore will come and visit your establishment more often and spend his money. Now, one thing's for sure. If we ask ourselves the question, how does it work and how do we create value? It all starts with, bye-bye, Mr. X. And hello, John. Hello, Peter. Hello, Maria. But not just when the customer is right in front of your face, but during the entire customer journey, of which most of his time nowadays is active online. So we need to find ways to interact with our customers in a relevant manner, at the right time, at the right place. Now today I'd like to zoom in to stadiums, because I believe a stadium in its own is like a small city. Just in the timeline, before, during and after an event, there's 50 up to 100,000 people gathering in these couple of square meters. You know, where there's retail services, hospitality, events, there's all sorts of services coming together like a little city. Now, just to give you a quick view on what the vision of the stadium of the future could look like, I'd like to share a couple of minutes of video with you. Now, let's see if I can get it running. There should be audio.
Turn it up.
Turn it up, right. Good question.
We are
Shall I play it again?
builders and a proven partner for large.
I'll play it again. Yeah, how do we play it again?
Scale projects of world class. We are Dutch sports
Well,
infrastructure.
despite all preparations, you never know how the technology is going to work. Anyway, enjoy the movie.
Come along with us into the stadium of the future. The Stadium of the Future is a modular and multifunctional concept. A stadium that stands out in technological innovations, profitability, sustainability, safety, and customer experience. The concept can be used for small-scaled to mega-large, from street corner training court to high-tech stadium. A concept based on the highest level of master planning and design, always in harmony with surroundings and community. Our safety already starts at check-in at the airport of departure. Smart security systems integrated through airport, subway, city center, all the way to the stadium, provide optimal security before, during, and after the match, without bothering the audience for their own safety. Sustainability preserves our future. Efficient systems for energy, water, and cooling, and the reuse of materials guarantee that the Stadium of the Future tags our planet only with the slightest footprint. And the use of LED pitch lighting is more than just very economical. It brings about groundbreaking new ways to to intensify your customer experience. It all comes together at customer experience. Whether you're present in the stadium or at home, experiencing the happening online. Innovative technology of superior quality, the ambience, audience involvement, and the excitement that it effectuates, customer experience. That's what DSI is all about. Dutch Sports
Right, so apparently customer experience is what it's all about. Driven by technical innovation, put in place in a relevant manner, and in the end, driving the profitability of the stadium. So in my search, finding the answer to how does it really work and how do we actually create value, I came across David Eagleman. He's a quite famous TED talker. You might have seen his TED talk a couple of days ago. He's a neuroscientist. And what he said was that we, as humans, consist out of very small, tiny bits and pieces. And we live in this huge environment. And interestingly enough, we don't seem to really understand both worlds. Our brains just don't seem to get their hands around it, except for this little tiny slice, which we perceive as our world. The interesting thing is, looking at this is a spectrum of electromagnetic waves that bounce off objects, which are being received by receptors in our eyeballs, and then transmitted to our brains, and our brains create this pattern and images, which we call our world today. But this is only such a small slice of the total spectrum of radio frequency waves that are currently right here. I mean, there's gamma and X-ray waves going through my body, and I don't know, I don't notice, I don't see them. So I have, as a human, a very limited view of the world. So the Germans call this our Umwelt. And that view has been the same over centuries and centuries, up to a couple of years ago when technology enabled us to add external sensors to our human system so that we could hear as deaf people, right? With the hearing aid systems. But at first people thought that was never going to work because those sensors use the language of Silicon Valley and not the biochemical signals that our brains were used to process. It turned out, however, that our brains are actually able to receive those digital signals, mix them up to patterns, and give meaning to them. So what David did was he created an application that is able to receive human voice in the frequency, transmit that data to a vest, which then transmits signals of feeling sensation. So you put on the vest and you feel different patterns of feeling. And our brains are now able to translate those sensations to meaning. So now all of a sudden it's possible for deaf people to hear what you're saying by wearing a vest. This technology is 40 times cheaper than the technologies that we now use to implant hearing equipment, etc. So he can open up the developing countries and make sure that the deaf people can hear again. So, what does this mean for stadiums? What type of external sensors can we add to the system of a stadium so their Umwelt increases? So they are more able to interact with their visitors in a relevant manner. Of course, they've got their security cameras and the ticketing systems giving them all sorts of signals and data, but there is more. Now, in order to find this out, I'm using a quite complicated technical model, which David calls the PH model of evolution, which basically stands for potato head. So where he says the potato head has got its nose, its eyes, and its ears, and they're all peripheral sensors that you just easily plug in. And apparently, we are able to translate those signals to meaning. Now, in the sense of a stadium, how cool would it be if we would be able to identify the presence of our visitors on his way to the stadium? If we know whose friends he has, what his destination will be after visiting our stadium, what his mood is. And the interesting thing is, the visitor sends out all sorts of signals. I mean, his whereabouts is with geo-identification, it's Wi-Fi, it's Bluetooth signals, it's cell IDs that are recorded in the gold detail records of your operator. There's all sorts of signals that we could collect and process. Now, I'd like to go through some of technologies which are mature and able to be applied today. The interesting thing about VR, virtual reality, is it's been there for over 20 years already. But since the introduction of the Oculus Rift, it seems to have gone skyrocket. After the Oculus, I mean, what was it? Maybe after the acquisition of Facebook, it was 2 months that Google came with the cardboard, and Microsoft just announced the HoloLens. And those type of goggles now mean that the technology is available to the mass. So imagine you create content with post or pre-event images, and you distribute them via the internet, a URL or an APK file or an application, and you bring that message to the public still at home. You can then identify their interest, just because they download the content. But with eyeball tracking technology, you can see what type of information presented in the content finds their interest. So just combine this technology with others in order to profile your visitor, and then you will be able to present on his journey relevant functionality with a technology called transient apps. Currently we're running a proof of concept in Amsterdam with this technology. And this enables you to present app fragments on screen of your user based on his geolocation. So the user no longer has to download the app. You know, there's one barrier to go, and at the right time and location, the relevant functionality as a fragment is presented on screen of the user. So on my way, I get the delay time for British Railways, I know the latest promotion of the McDonald's, get some concert data, Uber cab, and I'm on my way back home. Now, imagine you approach the stadium, you're in range, beacon technology, you must be aware of it, the Bluetooth low energy is a great sensor again to sense where you are, when you were there, how long you were there, what your frequency of visiting is, but it also enables you to interact in a relevant manner. The question, however, is what is relevance? I mean, sending out welcome messages and bye-bye messages is fun for maybe 2 times and then it becomes annoying, right? So we all have to learn how to use the technology in a relevant manner. Now, we have identified the visitor's whereabouts and we can interact with them. Now let's go a little bit deeper. I'd like to introduce a technology called vision analysis. And this technology enables us to process camera footage via an algorithm and translate that in real-time data concerning your sex, your age, and your mood. So we're able to identify your emotional response in the moment and then, for instance, use that data for narrowcasting, but then make narrowcasting smart. So instead of just shooting with hail and presenting all sorts of commercials to whoever is in front of the screen, we can now match the content with the type of people standing in front of the screen and increase higher effectivity or effectiveness. Sorry. I'd like to give you a live demo. This is always exciting. Always exciting. This works on a database with 400. No, I'm saying the wrong thing. 500,000 people. So it's based on statistics. This is just the default setup. So please take a seat and make sure that you are identified. And yeah, well, no, I have to go in first, so you have to mail content. So there you go. So now you come in. Processes your data. There you go. And it immediately presents, presuming this is relevant content for you, amazing content. So, thank you for... Now, of course this is just an application of what the... give me a second here. There you go.
Your phone?
No, it's not really connected very stably. I hope it stays on. Yeah? Okay. So that was a way of applying the technology, but just imagine you could generate this kind of data. I can now measure the amount of people per time bracket in reach of my camera in a certain location. But I can also identify per time bracket the amount of people that were actually looking in the direction of the camera. So let's say the camera is in a product presentation suite. Now I can see who's actually looking at my product presentation. I can identify its demographic profile, and I can even identify its emotional response. So now I can get to learn my customer a lot better and use these types of insights to engage with him in a more relevant manner. Now, another example. Imagine you're at second ring in a stadium, the 60th row up there. It's quite difficult to follow the details of the match, right? So with second screen applications, we are able to stream content to our mobile device. With the trend of the tiled streaming technology, however, we enable the user to real-time zoom in on the video and follow whatever topic he finds interesting. Not only will this increase the experience of the fan, but it will also generate, again, relevant data if it comes to what type of user finds what type of moments in the event, concert, or match interesting. Same for this. Again, this is going to be quite challenging because I'm again going to give a demo.